Can we assume that Michael Dokes is one of the prospects?
It's orgasmic sometimes. Yeah.
You can hit hard like that, but I can hit way harder like that. Fucking boom!
He is a man of signature intensity and charisma, relating most of the time the physical thrill of boxing to the exhilaration one feels at moments of extreme pleasure or triumph. The term orgasmic here has, of course, nothing to do with physical sensation, but with the deep satisfaction and adrenaline that comes with landing a strong punch, overpowering an opponent, or pulling off something extraordinary in the ring. Tyson's utterance, "You can hit hard like that," itself an acknowledgement of his interlocutor's prowess, is promptly followed by the offering with, "But I can hit very hard like that." Bucking boom.
Well, it's funny because you talked to me on the podcast before, the first time you came on, and you said, I can't even work out.
Yes,
Because
yes.
if I work out, my ego will get excited.
It speaks to some of the unique psychological challenges that someone of Tyson's caliber faces. It was a sensitive balance that Tyson previously touched upon when he had said that he could not work out because it would excite his ego. Working out is a somewhat very direct path to self-improvement in most people's minds. But for Tyson, a man who has lived at the extreme edges of physical and mental capability, the act of training is tied in with his identity and ego in ways that are empowering and dangerous in equal measure. Amazing, perhaps even ironic, is how something as banal as working out a routine activity for most can bring about such a formidable response from Tyson. That it is a reflection of the same traits that made him a legendary boxer are the very ones that need careful management so that his ego and temper don't get out of hand.
I did this toad, and this toad, I said, you gotta do it. They said, you have to do it.
The toad told you.
You have to.
5-MeO-DMT is a tryptamine of high-potency psychedelic origin. It originates from the Bufo alvarius toad. In the reference by Mike Tyson to the toad and DMT, he refers to his experience with this potent psychedelic that comes from that amphibian. This notorious drug induces life-changing, ultra-intense experiences of deep introspection, often with ego dissolving, mostly leading to a kind of reawakening or deep personal transformation. Where Tyson says, "The toad told you," he refers to that psychedelic journey as communicating with him on such a deeply personal spiritual level. This line, "DMT told you it's time to fight," would now mean that through this experience, Tyson received such an intense revelation or calling from within that in return has driven him to be able to fight the major issues in his life, such as his internal fights, past traumas, or just broader life issues. The urgency of "you have to do it" suggests that this confrontation is inevitable, and that the psychedelic experience did not just provide insight, but issued a directive, a command compelling action, not to be denied. That is where Tyson reflects on the question of self-expression, and alludes to the jagged identity that he indeed possesses. Whereas there is centered, which implies balance and calm, Tyson argues that these qualities do not fit everyone, let alone himself. One needs, he believes, to step beyond conventional sanity if one is to express this most intense and passionate of natures. Insane here is used to describe those extreme states of mind and emotion through which the full realization of Mike Tyson. Tyson's response is most revealing when questioned if becoming as successful as he was at such a young age requires complete obsession. To this, he agrees that indeed most fighters are obsessed, and that it takes such level of commitment and complete thought given to it to rise to the top in such a grueling art as boxing is. In this case, obsession isn't just equated with hard work, it's an all-consuming passion that engulfs the very being of a fighter. For me, Tyson, and many of us who preceded him, this obsession drives my relentless pursuit of greatness boldly beyond normal limits. Yet Tyson immediately qualifies this obsessive nature as bringing a set of significant problems, the biggest of which is self-control. For fighters, who more often than not live their lives in a world of extremes, both physical and emotional, self-control is a war that rages on almost constantly. The very qualities that make them formidable in the ring, such as passion, aggression, and the insatiable will to win, can very easily become liabilities if not managed with care. Without self-control, these traits can often result in destructive behavior both inside and outside the ring. Personal development and self-awareness are other contours of Tyson's introspection that bring out two important aspects: the principle of continuous improvement and the perils of a fixed identity. Indeed, he says, personal growth is always a process, one in which one has to get up, try, and adjust over and over again. He questions this idea of a well-defined self, arguing that such an inflexible definition of the self, based on age or such other fixed marker, closes the door to further evolution and change. Using the example of being 55 years old, he warns against getting comfortable with your identity, but rather argues that the self should be fluid and adaptive. Changes, according to Tyson, are to be embraced, and every person is to be open for new experiences. This was how potential could expand without stagnation. He insists that personal development is supposed to evolve, never reach some final state of self. Tyson further elaborated that it is every day of our life we change without even knowing it. A belief in such subtle and continuous personal evolution is growth in tiny and often unnoticed ways. Such a perspective stresses that change is intrinsic and constant in human nature, where identities and selves silently slip under the radar of conscious awareness. Coaching and personal development specialist Tyson draws attention to the fact that great coaches know how to recognize and tap into this continuous unconscious change. They find people who are changing and can help them become even better by accessing their inner potential. The effective coach does not passively witness change, but rather actively draws out and maximizes the abilities of his clients, developing in them a greater awareness of their emerging selves and guiding them toward realizing their fullest potential. Comments by Tyson reveal the valuable contribution which coaches can make toward guiding and facilitating the process of change and enabling individuals to tap into and realize their potential.
Like, no one could ignite me like Customado.
Right.
It's totally different. You couldn't, it's just different. It was so emotional involved.
Underscores the profound impact of his trainer, Customado, and the extreme dedication necessary to achieve greatness. D'Amato was more than a coach. He was a mentor who deeply understood Tyson's potential and the psychological demands of boxing, igniting a passion within Tyson that others could not match. This emotional connection went beyond technical training, as D'Amato inspired Tyson to reach his fullest potential. Tyson's notion that greatness was the willingness to die reflects his belief that true greatness demands an extraordinary level of commitment and sacrifice, both mentally and emotionally. It signifies the readiness to push beyond ordinary limits and embrace risks fully. Tyson's experience with D'Amato highlights how this intense and emotional journey, marked by profound dedication, shaped his approach to boxing and personal development, demonstrating that achieving excellence requires making significant sacrifices and embracing a transformative mindset. The use of a hypnotist in Mike Tyson's training by Cus D'Amato speaks volumes to his level of ingenuity in the process of molding Tyson into the ultimate boxer. D'Amato used hypnosis to make contact with the subconscious mind of Tyson by leading him into a deep concentration level, where Tyson described it as being able to focus on the blackness of nothingness. This enabled Tyson to abstract from his environment and get fully prepared mentally. Hypnosis was how D'Amato was trying to make Tyson a savage, intelligent animal, combining intense aggression with strategic precision. From the time he was around 12 or 13 years old, these methods had been applied to him to have an effect on his fighting style and mental approach to provide him with deep discipline and focus. The hypnosis integrated, therefore, gave Tyson a mental lead in developing both his technical skill and psychological strength, as well as being crucial in the preparations for the heavy work in professional boxing.
Greatness, glory. What does it mean when fighting gets you erect? What does that mean?
That's what I'm saying. Is like you reached a state as a human being, as a champion, as a ferocious fighter. You reached a state of ability and of accomplishment that very few humans will ever touch and feel. That's why I'm asking you, when you're running, when you're hitting the bag, when that heart's beating again, and you know who you are. You're Mike motherfucking Tyson. So when you're doing all this shit again, you're still Mike Tyson. Those thoughts have got to be burning inside you again. It's got to be pretty wild.
Tyson in his prime, storming the gates, stalking people down and smashing them. You can't stop him. He had everything going for him. He was a different model of a fighter. Exactly.
Did you ever do any fighting?
I did kickboxing and
Tell me about
taekwondo
that.
tournaments. So I was pretty good at Taekwondo. I won a bunch of state championships and won tournaments.
When did you know you wanted to get physical with another human being?
Mike Tyson's assertion that a 55-year-old can still inflict significant damage in combat underscores his belief in the enduring relevance of skill, knowledge, and experience in fighting, regardless of age. His claim, "Absolutely, I'm a student of war. I study the art of fighting," highlights his deep commitment to mastering combat principles beyond physical attributes. Tyson's extensive knowledge of boxing techniques, strategies, and psychological aspects allows him to remain formidable, leveraging his experience to adapt and outthink opponents. Despite age-related physical changes, his refined techniques and strategic thinking compensate, supported by modern training science that enhances performance and manages decline. Tyson's mental and emotional resilience, forged through years of practice, further equips him to maintain a potent presence in the ring.
When you get challenged by someone who's a guy like a Jake Paul, does that piss you off? Is
Not
it
at
part
all.
of it that's just like,
No, it doesn't. I think it's also.
To succeed greatly, you have to be willing to fail greatly.
Oh, 100%. No one failed more than I did.
Being a fighter is just like being a monk, he explains, emphasizing how much commitment and discipline it takes to be great in boxing. Just like the monks, fighters live under strict rules and principles, guided lives of hard training, dieting, and mental strengthening. That discipline goes on from physical training to mental focus and continuous self-improvement. The elements of simplicity, seclusion, and spiritual focus within the monastic life thus find parallels in the dedication required in a fighter's life, where he is supposed to forgo most worldly delights and even social relationships. Comparable personal sacrifices are found both in the monk and the fighter, since each experiences personal depletion in physical and mental ways. It is a journey of deep personal transformation, whereby a fighter goes through changes in body, mind, and heart, in the same manner as the spiritual growth that monks seek.
It's just spiritual, right? You see all your fights and stuff? All your knockouts is spectacular. You know what that means? All this good stuff happening to you, know what that means? That you're favored by God. When you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil. He's coming for you too. So you just gotta be strong and stay on the right side.
Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson, two of the hardest-hitting men over 50 alive today.